Hello, I'm that's the wrong way round.
Sick. Should we do it again?
Yeah, let's do that one again.
Hello, I'm Dan.
I'm Simon.
And this is the Wikicast, a podcast where Wikipedia takes us to a random article and we talk about what we find. Simon, what are we talking about this week?
This week, Daniel, we're talking about list of ambassadors of Sweden to Ukraine.
Wow, we haven't had in a good long while one of those really niche, long-titled Wikipedia articles, you know?
Niche, and yet somehow, if you were to pick two countries at the moment that were the most relevant to the Wikicast, Ukraine is obviously everywhere in the news because of the invasion, but also Sweden is the only place the Wikicast has an international branch.
Indeed, yeah.
It doesn't get much better than this.
Our flagship office.
It's our satellite group. They are to us what Carthage was to the Phoenicians.
Brilliant. Again, with the sort of really accessible references, it's brilliant.
Yeah, modern, up-to-date, cutting edge.
Pop culture.
I don't know who, in this context, the Romans are. Whoever's going to come and beat up and completely destroy the Swedish Wikicast.
I have no idea.
The vengeful people of Alaska after Eric has to leave them.
Yes, yeah, probably that, actually.
This is lore, deep Wikicast lore.
So, list of ambassadors from Sweden to Ukraine.
Yeah, and interestingly, the Swedish embassy in Kyiv was opened in 1992.
Oh, wow.
Which, when you think about it, does make sense because Ukraine didn't exist as a modern nation until after the dissolution of the Soviet Union. So it does actually have a little bit underneath that saying Swedish representatives in the Ukrainian part of the Russian Empire, as it was for a long time previously. In fact, so long previously that the first person in the office, John Wilkins, that doesn't sound like a very Swedish name.
Yeah.
It sounds like the classic bodega American. John Wilkins.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was in office from 1830 to 1857. There's list 183 question mark.
Wow.
There are some great names here. Like, I feel like these articles are great places if you're an author to come up with names of characters.
Oh, for sure.
Because the first, five here are John Wilkins, Ignace von Efrusi, Robert Wilkins, Oscar Moritz Heribert Osberg,
Wow.
and Adolf Gustav Munch.
Oh, we love Munch.
Munch.
Das ist wunderbar.
Not so keen on Adolf.
Yeah, it starts and you sort of get a little bit tense, but as it goes on, it's all right.
Yeah, and actually, very interesting, again, connection to this. So I was in Strasbourg last week. I was giving I can't really believe that I'm saying this. I was giving a masterclass at a summer school at the European Parliament. So I previously, 2 years ago, I did an event where there was like a panel on climate communication. And I got to know a couple of people. And this year they invited me back and said, could you do an hour-long masterclass on how you make content about climate? And which is a very interesting experience going over. And I experienced European Parliament bureaucracy to the gills. Like, I was waiting for 2.5 hours before I could get into the building.
Wow.
It was absurd, and it was very hot. Like, it was not a pleasant experience. Anyway, and the hotel I was staying in was one door down from the Ukrainian consulate, I guess, like the Ukrainian representative to the European Parliament. I at first thought it was just a nice residential house with a Ukrainian flag on, like, a lot of places have these days. But no, it was the Ukrainian consulate, or whatever the correct term is, which I was a little bit taken aback by. Gosh,
extraordinary. How many people attended that then? Tell me more about this. I'm curious about this.
The summer school was for sort of young journalists, and I'm terrible at guessing. I think there might have been 80 or something like that in the room.
Right.
But that was part of, and the reason it took so long to get into the Parliament, there was something called the European Youth Event, which has something like 10,000 people going to it. And
Eye.
Yeah. Have you heard of it?
No. I'm just...
Brilliant. Excellent.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, I wanted to get...
You wanted to contribute.
I was sort of like spurring you on from the sidelines. Go on. Yeah.
Keep going. Go on, Murray. Go on. Come on, Simon. Can we get new balls, please? So, yeah, there was like 10,000 people there. And they basically, the security outside, after I'd gone through the first 8 steps of bureaucracy, the security were basically like, yeah, the Parliament's full. Sorry. We can't have anyone else come in. There's too many people. So I was like, well, I don't know about you, sir, but I'm giving a masterclass in 30 minutes, so I've got to get in.
Yeah. So what are you going to do about that?
So that was lovely. But Strasbourg, I mean, it's third time I've been. I went once when I was a school kid on like a school trip, not to the Parliament, but just to like, it was a French-German trip. And then I went 2 years ago. I really like Strasbourg.
Never been.
It's got a historic city centre, which is in like an island. And then because there's the Parliament there's obviously like quite a lot of money. So there's some really nice houses, very nice neighbourhoods. But also there was a lovely park called, I think it was l'Orangerie, like the orangery.
Right, yeah.
Which has like a big stately home in the middle of it. And I basically went for a run in the morning and I went around it. But it was, imagine like a typical London royal park, but then as well as all your typical pigeons and stuff like that, they had white cranes nesting.
Wow.
These birds that are like, 4 foot tall. I don't actually know how tall they are, but their nests were enormous. They were like 6-7 foot wide nests, just perched on top of the roof line of this building, and it looks like an alien or something has landed on the top of these buildings, but just no one's batting an eyelid. It's just completely normal.
Amazing. It's like the pelicans in, is it Hyde Park? They're very charming.
The only bird whose beak can fit more than its bellican.
Very good.
I can't remember where that's from. It's something my mum used to say.
It's not from something from The Giraffe, the Pelly and Me, is it?
What's that?
Isn't that Roald Dahl?
Oh, it does sound more. It does sound like Roald Dahl, yeah.
The Giraffe, the Pelly and Me. Yeah. Great. I had it as this is a tangent, but it is the podcast after all, so that's fine. I still now religiously listen to audiobooks and podcasts and particularly, as is known, Harry Potter audiobooks. I mean, I complete sort of 13 cycles a year, a cycle being listening to books 1 to 7. That's one cycle. So it's a bit of a problem for me, really. But anyway, when I was a child, I had a whole host of different audiobooks on radio cassette, no less. So proper old school. But one of them was a selection of Roald Dahl stories narrated by Roald Dahl.
I had one of these. I don't think mine was narrated by Roald Dahl, but I had some of these. I had Danny Champion of the World on tape.
Yeah, I had that. So I think in my ones I had Danny Champion of the World, SEO Trot.
Yes.
Certainly Willy Wonka, or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, rather. Fantastic Mr. Fox. Fantastic Mr. Fox was brilliant. That was so good.
I remember really liking SEO Trot. That's a name I've not thought about for a long time, but because it's one chapter. Like I remember saying to my parents, like, can I have a bedtime story? And they said yes, okay, but you can have one chapter. Which book would you like a chapter from? And I asked for SEO Trot. I just got the entire book.
Yeah, they were great. Oh, I need to listen to those again. I wonder if I've still got them somewhere. I must do.
It's comfort food, but although I know there has been that whole thing recently, hasn't there, with the should they be edited and should some of them be, because a lot of the language in it, like let's not forget that the Oompa Loompas are in the book, I think, like a tribe of African pygmies that Wonka's just enslaved.
Yeah, basically.
Or has invited to work for him.
I think like anything that's sort of a time, it comes with the complexities and the wrongs of that time, right? But surely the things like this is an opportunity to educate and inform and move forward, as opposed to simply remove.
Yeah, denying it happened.
I'm not sure the removal and the sort of abridging everything, and redacting work is the right way to do it. But
without knowing the specifics, it's difficult to form a coherent opinion. But yeah, I think I do agree with you.
Absolutely.
Like the Warner Brothers cartoons, like I think some of them now come with, because a lot of them that were made in the 50s have a lot of quite regressive stereotypes.
Well, yeah, I mean, I watched Peter Pan, the original animated Peter Pan, the other day, and that has a sort of warning at the front saying, this film is complicated for these reasons because of their portrayal of Native Americans.
Exactly, yeah. But I think but it's the fact that it lets the audience form its own opinion, right? Like this is our statement on it. We're not going to change it because it's art that's reflective of its time. Be aware that this is a thing that it's basically a content warning, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Viewer discretion or whatever, it's up to you.
Although leaving things to people's best judgments, I don't know if you know this, Dan, but people are idiots. Like, this is the danger of this approach.
Yeah, there is that.
As we see over and over again with is it just me, by the way? This is such an old man thing to say. But the past week or so, the news has just kept coming and not stopped coming.
Yeah.
People getting arrested, people getting indicted, people dying. Like, it's been, frankly, today's been quite a quiet news day. It's what, Thursday the 15th we're recording this. So maybe something enormous will happen on Friday the 16th.
Yeah.
But here, at least, I'm quite enjoying it.
No, I do agree. It's been a bonkers week, and not good bonkers. Just sort of really, the human race has not been at its finest.
And also, I mean, here in the UK, and I think in Western Europe in general, it's been bloody hot.
Oh, it's so hot.
It's been really
It's crazy
warm.
hot.
I mean, right now in Bath, I mean, this is where we're going to get all the Americans being like, oh, you all think that is hot? It was 27 degrees today in Bath, and it's going to be, and it's only going down to 17, 16 degrees at night.
Yeah. The trouble is, it's been really humid as well, hasn't it? We've had a few sort of flash sort of storms and things, but it's been pretty tough. When I'm working in London, I'm in one of two offices. One of the offices has reasonable air conditioning. The other's sort of struggles, and it's been a struggle. Oh, and tell you what's worse: going in on the tube, a packed tube in the morning, and being like sort of dripping with sweat before you arrive at work.
Oh, to be living in Exeter and just, I'm going to amble up to the university. It was a bit hot today. I'll just take my time,
Yeah, or be like, I'll get up earlier and go for a swim at the uni.
Youth is wasted on the young Dan.
Yeah, it is. It is. I've been saying this for years. Old man at heart.
Yeah, Dan was born at the age of 50.
Yeah.
So the other thing to mention is it's been hot, and I actually don't know if this is the case about you, but I have terrible hay fever. I am specifically allergic to grass pollen, and it has been rough.
I'm pretty sure that I'm tree pollen.
Oh, so a little earlier.
Yeah. So, but I didn't used to ever get hay fever, and then about 5 years ago, just incredibly intense symptoms and yeah, a real struggle. I have now started taking there's this new medication on the market that was formerly you have to get it sort of over the counter on prescription, but they've released it to the masses, and it's pretty good.
Is it alcohol?
Yeah, it's well, I mean, alcohol triggers the histamine response, so it's not alcohol. But it comes in like a purple box, if that's helpful, and it's not Ribena.
Okay.
Or Vimto.
I mean, I need to get on something stronger because I have been, well, let me put it like this. I've been sat at my desk today and I have been wearing for most of the day swimming goggles, and I've had pieces of toilet paper up my nose because it is unbearable otherwise. It is, and it doesn't help that it's so hot. Well, it's so hot, which means that you have to have the window open, and we've got a fan on and everything. But also because it hasn't rained for so long, the pollen is just saturated in the air. Like when it rains, it flushes out a lot of the particulate matter that's in the atmosphere, and that just hasn't happened. So it's just been accumulating and accumulating. And what did I do yesterday? What did I choose to spend this pollen-filled, incredibly hot, sweaty day doing? I went for a cycle. For a video where I tried to go from Bath to London with my electric bike.
That's crazy. You pick your moments, don't you?
Well, the thing is, I needed a day on which it was sunny from the very beginning. Like it had to be 7 or 8 o'clock already sunny because I was cycling with a solar panel. And unfortunately, that meant a really still day where all the pollen was hanging in the air and it was really, really hot.
Yeah. Oh, gosh.
I hurt in a lot of places. I woke up this morning and I felt about 30 years older.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing that, though.
Yeah, I think it's a good video. And what's interesting is it was a video that I had an idea for. I had a very clear idea. Okay, this video is going to be about this. And then it was when I was having lunch in the middle of sort of the cycle, I realized, actually, no, this is a video about this other thing, which they're very much connected. But based on the experience of how it was going up to that point, I was like, actually, no, I know what this is about now, which doesn't often happen. When I make a video, normally you come up with an idea, you flesh out your learning objectives, you do your bullet point script, and then you flesh that out into a script. And very rarely do you have like quite a big change of direction. Whereas with this one, it was like I zoomed out and I saw the previous video in a frame that lived within the frame of the video.
Oh.
I don't know if it's ever happened before. So it's going to be, I'm looking forward to making it.
Interesting. Yeah, absolutely.
I've got a real fire under my ass for making videos at the moment, actually. Like, there's quite a lot of exciting projects going on all at once, some of which I can't talk about. But
yes.
I won't say who it's with, but I did have a really exciting conversation with a sponsor last week to sponsor a video that I wanted to make for a very long time. And it's the best fit for a piece of content that I could possibly imagine. Like, people will see it next month and go, oh, that's what he was talking about. So there's
Yeah.
something really cool coming. I just can't say what it is.
So exciting.
The other thing, Dan, before we move on, is I discovered the origin of that pelican phrase. It's from a limerick. It was a limerick written by Dixon Lanier Merritt. The full text is, a wonderful bird is the pelican. His bill can hold more than his bellican. He can take in his beak food enough for a week. I'll be damned if I know... What? I'm damned if I know how the hell he can. I feel that's too many syllables.
How the hell he can, yeah.
I'm damned if I know how the hell he can. Yes,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, that fits.
He can take in his beak food enough for a week. I'm damned if I know how the hell he can.
Yeah, that's nice. I like that. That's good.
I like that a lot. The return of Poetry Corner.
Yeah, we haven't had that for a while. Good grief.
If you want to bring some poetry to the podcast, Dan,
Yeah, maybe I really do, because I'm inevitably now, with being a worker and contributing to the economy, my free time has sort of deteriorated quite significantly. So I'm not able to do as much singing as I was like. However, I'm hopefully going to be doing some cantouring at a cathedral in London, which will be fun. But yes, maybe poetry, maybe Old Man Dan's Poetry Podcast and Poetry Corner can make a sort of rocking comeback.
And I take it from that statement you haven't bought a Switch since the last episode.
Well, look, I haven't, and I have a good reason as to why.
Mm-hmm.
The reason as to why is because I jokingly mentioned it to people who I know love and care for me a great deal. And we then had a very serious conversation about, what would actually be better is to save one's money and look into like rent. I was like, yeah, that's probably true actually. But I'm not giving up. I'm keeping my eyes peeled for something sort of, maybe secondhand or we'll see.
Hey, if anyone in the community has a secondhand Switch, you can send it to us.
Okay. I mean, I'm not endorsing that. I'm not asking for somebody to go and send me a Switch. Now, if one happens to arrive in the post, because we do have a PO box, then extraordinary. But it's not something this is not something I need. It's not an essential thing. Also, much as I said I'm going to be saving for rent and things, tell you what I kind of want quite a lot. The Apple Vision Pro.
Oh, really? You really?
Yeah, just because I think it's the funniest thing I've ever seen.
That was what Tim Apple was going for. It
was just ridiculous. I mean, it was such a bizarre thing. Oh god! In fact, I watched that. I watched WWDC this year, and it was just comically underwhelming. And then Vision Pro at the end, like, they did their classic, oh, and one more thing.
Well, one more thing.
And then they announced this thing, and I was just sitting watching it, being like, this feels like Ready Player One. Casey Neistat did a video.
He did the video, I saw it.
Yeah, doing just that.
Like, it's one of these things that it's a sci-fi technology that so frequently people come up with, a piece of sci-fi technology because they read it in a book or they saw it on Star Trek, like a tricorder or whatever it is from Star Trek, and they'll develop it and everyone will go, yes, finally we have XYZ, we have the tricorder from Star Trek. And this is one of the only times I can remember, maybe it's the only time I can remember, when someone did this with a piece of tech from science fiction, like Ready Player One, for example, or Fall Guy or whatever, and everyone went, no, we don't want that machine from Ready Player One. What are you doing? This is dystopian.
So as far as all of the rubbish about the amazing application it has for work, that's ludicrous. In fact, so ludicrous that one of the offices I'm typically based in London is 1 Canada Square in Canary Wharf, which is the second tallest skyscraper in the UK. And the views are amazing, but I'm on a particular level where it's very, very fintech, new, exciting, startup, trendy companies, and with similarly exciting, trendy people working there. And I was working yesterday and looked behind me, and there was a meeting taking place at a sort of bench with maybe 5 people, and they were all wearing VR headsets.
Wow.
And it was so bizarre. And they clearly have been doing this. This is a standard practice for them because they were very calm while doing it and looked like they were having a very productive meeting. But I could not get over how ludicrous it was. I was just sort of like, well, but how? I mean, perhaps it does, perhaps there are elements. I'm sure there are elements of it that are sort of beneficial and practical and interesting and, fine. But I'm not buying into that. What I would love to experience is the whole sort of scaling up of watching like TV shows and what just in sort of consuming media and being able to blow a screen up to a crazy resolution.
The one application I've seen that's actually got me is they showed someone on a plane, I think.
Yes.
And then it was as if they were in a cinema.
Yeah.
You know.
And the resolution you're looking at is true because each eye is seeing 4K. Each eye.
Yeah.
Which is just ludicrous. And apparently, from for those who have tried it, they've said, all jokes aside, it's incredible. Like, the tech is incredible.
But is it worth $3,500?
Oh, absolutely not. Not at all. But this is the start of a new branch of tech. So, I was watching an interesting video and they were saying, who knows, in 5 or 10 years' time, they might have something like the Apple Vision SE, right, which is like an affordable version for, because it's a pro product, right? It's part of the pro product line. And I don't know, I'm very interested by it.
But is that not equally nightmarish? This vision of all these people going around with... Because that's the other thing about it, is like, if you're not in a VR space, then it projects your eyes onto the screen on the outside, doesn't it? Like, is that not incredibly nightmarish?
It's totally nightmarish. It's really bizarre, and it was very uncanny valley. Not only that, you can do a FaceTime call with people.
Oh yeah,
but they obviously can't see your face, so they create your face. You have a sort of composite.
But it looks like the Rock from the Mummy Returns, like the Scorpion King.
Yeah, or it looks like and it's anything out of the Polar Express,
Yeah.
But very strange. But anyway, that was a heck of a tangent. But I'm very interested. I'd love to go into a store and try it. As soon as you can, like, book a session, I will.
Yeah.
Because I want to experience this. I don't know how it works for people with glasses.
Ooh. I guess you'd have to wear contacts. Like, surely you can't wear glasses with it.
Yes, you would. Yeah, interesting.
I'd not thought about that.
Yeah, just a little side tangent there.
Well, if anyone wants to send us an Apple Pro Plus... Sorry, what is it called again?
Apple Vision Pro, is it? Pro Plus is the caffeine medication.
Which I have not had since my 4th year of undergrad. I used to live on that for a time. I don't know why I was so stressed the entire time.
So I was in Exeter last weekend tackling my house because the grass needed cutting, and obviously I haven't been there for a while, having sort of moved to London, and at some point we'll need to think about wrapping things up there. And I was tidying after having done the garden. I was going through the inside of my parents came down with me, thank God, because I wouldn't have been able to do it myself. And I found at least 3 boxes of Pro Plus.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And it just secreted in random parts of the house. I didn't realise they would be there. And they must be yours.
Mine or Ed Dunn's.
That's true. Could be Ed's. I don't think I didn't see Ed ever buying them. But I remember Mum was like, why have you got these? And I said, Simon. She's like, oh, okay.
Am I like a one-word excuse for certain things in your household?
Yeah, of course.
Why are all these tablets here? Oh, Simon. Oh, yeah.
Simon.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, right, of course.
Why are all these dolls' shoes in this drawer? Oh, that was Simon. Oh, right.
Then there's a jar of baby teeth in the fridge, Simon. Oh, right, yeah, cool.
Yeah. That is that blood? No. That one's not actually Simon. That one was me. I'm going to put my hands up. Yeah. I killed a guy.
Oh, no, that's mine. Yeah. Don't go in the shed. Lunch?
What I was going to say was if anyone wants to send us an Apple Pro Plus, then you can do so at our PO box.
Apple Vision Pro. Come
Apple
on.
Vision Pro Plus. You can send us stuff to our PO
Vision
box.
Pro Plus.
Oh, you got me there. Hang on. I'd have a drink of my beverage. I don't know if you can hear the ice chinking around. I think it's all melted now.
What have you got? A gin and tonic?
No, I've got a cider.
Oh.
I had a can of cider kicking around, and I thought as a treat after spending about 3,000 calories yesterday doing exercise, I would have a cider.
Yeah, fair enough. I think I might have a glass of wine after this.
Oh, go on, treat yourself.
I know. Wild.
So yeah, you can send us some Apple Calpol at Tired Bear Films. Sorry, well, the Wikicast, care of Tired Bear Films, PO Box 5598, Bath, and the postcode is Bravo Alpha 10 Delta Zulu, United Kingdom. I checked it about a week or two ago, and we've had a couple of things come through from readers around the world already. It was so exciting.
Amazing. That's so exciting. Thank you. If you're one of those lovely people who sent something in, then I take my hat off to you, and both Simon and I are incredibly grateful and can't wait to sort of dive into what you've sent.
I'm itching to open
Yeah,
them.
absolutely.
I'm itching to have a look because I've not looked. We've had a postcard and I've not looked at the message on it. It's on my shelf. So we're going to save all that up, and when Dan comes up, we will do a sort of an unboxing video,
Can't wait.
which I'm really, really looking forward to doing. So please do send it, even if it is just a postcard or a letter. It's lovely just to have stuff from around the world, and frankly, seeing stamps from around the world is always really exciting. Like, seeing a stamp from America or Sweden or Ukraine, it's just really geeky fun. So please do send us stuff. If you'd like to see the address written down, it is on our Instagram, which will be linked in the description, and that's on one of our recent posts. But I think that's probably enough for this corner, Dan. I think it's probably time to punt the ball over into your half of the court. That's a sports metaphor. And
Well done.
talk about
A seasoned pro, an Apple Vision Pro.
with a handicap score of 4, Dan's really an expert at rugby football. So I'm going to bowl underarm to you on the other side of the net and ask you what your choral piece of the week is.
Well, let me just get on my water polo horse and we'll be right
It's
over.
actually a seahorse.
And this will be my piece of the week. Drum roll, please. Choral Corner. Look, I mentioned earlier, I haven't really been doing a great deal of singing. The last thing I did was maybe 2 weeks ago, so I don't have a tremendous amount to report back. What I would say, and I'm going to take my choral piece of the week as an opportunity to mention 2 things. And the first thing I'm going to mention, well, before I do it, you need to tell me if I start talking and if I've already mentioned this on the last episode. I may well have done. It's been a bit of a busy week. I went to a gig in Shoreditch. Have I told you this?
I don't think so.
I went to hear a band.
Oh.
A youth band.
A popular music.
Popular music. I went with other youths to the trendy Shoreditch in London, which was phenomenal, actually. I haven't been. It was really wonderful. Yes, and our dear friend and celebrity of the podcast, Hugo Wickman, happened to have a spare ticket to a band, and the band is called Beatenberg. I don't know if you're familiar with Beatenberg, Simon.
No.
Well, they are fantastic. They're amazing. They're a South African band based in Cape Town, composed of Matthew Field, Robin Brink and Ross Dawkin. The group signed with Universal Music Group label in 2012. They are fantastic. They are really, really excellent. It's a pop, Afro-pop sort of thing. Incredibly talented trio. And they were just, it was extraordinary fun. I'm going to recommend one song in particular. That song is titled Ithaca. I encourage everyone to have a listen.
Ooh.
It's just glorious. And a lot of their song conception is reasonably sort of firmly rooted in classic literature. There's lots of little sort of references to the classics, and it's just glorious. It was really excellent. And the other thing I'm going to mention is, as you will have seen today, both Simon and I, as devoted members of the readership, will know our former, or rather both alumni of the University of Exeter Chapel Choir.
Mm-hmm.
And what exciting news was delivered today, Simon?
I won't lie to you, Dan. I mean, I know what the news is, but I haven't opened the message thread yet because I don't want Michael Graham to see that I have seen it, because I want more time. But basically, the alumni of the Chapel Choir have had a loose connection and a loose musical group kind of performing on and off. And it looks like it is being formalised into, I think the name is my favourite part of the whole thing, because it is people who have left Exeter University and are now coming together to sing, and the group is going to be called Exodus.
Yeah,
which
is really fitting. I mean, there's a slight issue in that there is already an ensemble in London called Exodus.
There already was,
who are really very good. I sort of floated the idea of different choir names, something like Exonia or Exoniae. Both would fit for sort of Exeter in a Latin context, but it doesn't matter. So Michael's rebuttal was,
we'll just have to be better than them.
I set up this choir like 12 years ago, and it's just being sort of reinvigorated. So yeah. But very exciting, and that'll be great. So we're currently looking for venues, and at some point, hopefully, we'll be able to sort of do some services and some concerts. And so, so any members of the readership who are based in London or find themselves in London every now and then, or fancy going to London, then we'll be sure to plug any gigs that are upcoming. But that's very exciting. So no choral piece this week, I'm afraid, but some interesting musical news.
Actually, and in musical news, I was wondering if you were going to mention, because I have watched this, but you were there live. You went to the Wickman Spectacular a couple of weeks ago.
I did, and it was fantastic. It was so brilliant.
So what was it? Because I know what this was, but for the readers at home.
So he's got a lot of airtime this episode. He'll be over the moon. Hugo Wickman and his elder brother Freddie put on a sort of evening of musical comedy. Now, for those, obviously, the readers will know of Hugo, but may not know his elder brother Freddie, who is a YouTuber like yourself, or well, he does YouTube, sort of
A better one.
Yes, and he does.
I had proper Uncle Vernon vibes then. A better one.
A better one.
Last year I had 39 subscribers.
Well, we'll get you 5 more subscribers, Pumpkin. How about that?
I too also live under the stairs. Because YouTube AdSense is at the moment.
Freddie makes YouTube videos, and they are music in sort of scope, and he does things like the ontological fugue, and he uses musical sort of comedy as a tool for music teaching, and it's really very, very clever.
My favourite example is every Handel bass aria ever, which is sung by our friend Hugo.
Yeah. The whole, I mean, I thought the evening was really well crafted. It was in this gorgeous little church in the middle of, well, it sort of felt like in the middle of nowhere. It didn't really feel like you were in London at all because it was in the middle of a sort of park. Really lovely, very intimate. Sort of arrived, and for the first half an hour there was a little drinks reception where you sort of did a donation and you could have a glass of fizz or wine or whatever, and then sat down for about an hour of music, and it was sort of comedy music interspersed with some sort of serious singing from Hugo, in addition to the sort of more comic stuff, and some serious playing from Freddie. And it was just, I mean, both incredibly talented people, you know, coming together.
And it was filmed. You can watch it. I'll leave a link in the show notes.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We'll link it, and you must give it a watch, because behind the comedy, which is brilliant, is some stonking musicianship. I mean, Freddie to compose and play so many of these pieces, but then also, I mean, Hugo's voice is just strength to strength.
Thunderous.
You know, it's an incredible gift. So yeah, I heartily recommend having a listen.
Well, all the above will be in the show notes, but the show itself must go on. Now, I've got a little story for you today, Dan.
Okay.
So I, this evening, made a Indonesian satay curry for myself and my wife.
My wife.
Delicious. One of my favourite recipes. That balance of kind of like the earthiness and the lime and the sweetness of like maple syrup in our case. Yeah, yum, 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 yum. Lovely. Anyway, I plated up our 2 bowls, and I was walking over to the living room, and I spotted on the side what I thought was, there's a bit of spillage from one of the saucepans when I was moving the sauce around. So I picked it up with my finger. Lovely, straight in the mouth.
Yeah.
I took one more step, and then I realised that it was not Indonesian satay curry.
No.
I had just eaten the juice from our food waste bin that I had just put over that section of the countertop.
Well done. Well done.
And it was one of the most visceral reactions I've had in my life. That wave of realization of foot hits the ground. Mother of God, what have I done? Just like a dog under the tap. Like.
Thing is, though, I mean, that is funny. And I'm sure to readers that sounds very funny. But having lived with you and knowing you well as I do, that move and that attitude and approach does not surprise me in the slightest. You, when it comes to just anything that might resemble, I thought you were going to say you'd noticed a little thing and it was actually like cat shit, or, you know, I mean, God knows, anything that might even vaguely resemble a foodstuff. Before even thinking if it's okay, it's going straight in your gob.
Pixel Wife did say to me after this happened, she looked at me in her best teacher voice and was like, and this is why we don't put random things in our mouth.
Yeah, she's not wrong.
And you know what? It's not an unfair criticism.
Yeah, it's completely reasonable.
But yeah, I literally had to swallow my mouth out before this podcast. It was something of a traumatic experience, and I'm glad that I've got my friend Daniel Moore to help me through it.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. I want you to describe to me as best you can, as if you were a sort of sommelier, the visceral experience of bin juice.
Bin juice. It's piquant.
Let's make it classier. Bin jus. How about that?
Yeah, jus de bain.
Jus de refus.
It's a south-facing bin, of course.
Oh, lovely. How many bedrooms?
And the immediate sensation I had was the bottom of my stomach dropping.
Oh, God.
Like a similar sensation to going over a humpback bridge.
Yeah.
And then in a parallel motion, my throat going upwards. As if my torso was trying to stretch itself.
For about a second, you resembled a giraffe, and then
Yeah.
like in a cartoon.
Yeah. You saw this lump go up my throat, like the opposite
Yeah.
of swallowing something in a cartoon.
Yeah.
And just, and I think I tried to communicate to Pixel Wife because I took my step into the living room and I basically went, put the food down, ran, because that was the first thing. I put the food down before I ran to the tap.
Extraordinary. You're extraordinary.
Thank you. I really do appreciate that.
So,
Anyway, what's been happening with you? Anything you'd like to criticise?
well, you won't believe it, but I just started eating out of a bin the other day. Just gorging, sort of like a trough, pig at a trough. What have I been up to? Well, it's been quite a busy week at work. Lots to do. I rewatched all of the, and when I say all, I mean all of the Indiana Jones films.
Oh. Wait, including the one that's just come out?
No. Okay, so I've seen 4. I haven't seen the 5th one that's just come out. I haven't seen yet, but watched the first one, loved it. Classic, lovely memories.
No notes. Perfect B movie.
Yeah, just great. Really nice. Watched the second one. Yeah, really, really good. I think the weakest of the if we can call it the original.
Definitely the weakest of the 3. Quite problematic.
Temple of Doom.
Yeah.
Yeah, so weak. So weak. Like it's not great. It's just a bit sort of tortured. And then obviously the third one, brilliant. Last Crusade. Yeah. Fantastic. Then
are you about to say that you watched the 4th one and you thought it was all right?
Do you know me at all? I'm about to say that I watched the 4th one and the experience of watching that was like drinking bin juice. And I think you of all people will be aware of how unpleasant an experience that is.
Dan's torso lengthened. He got up to about 5 inches tall. He was sat in the cinema seat and his legs were kicking, about a third of the way down the seat.
Yeah, which is ideal because normally when I'm sitting on a cinema seat, I can very easily fall between the crack at the back from the bottom of the seat and What I'm saying is I'm like a borrower.
You're munching on a single piece of popcorn.
Yeah. I'm sitting on the other piece.
No, you're sitting on top of you buy a box of popcorn so that you can put it on the seat.
Yeah.
So that you can stand on top of the popcorn.
Like a booster seat.
Yes.
Yeah. If I want to drink, I have to stand on a sugar cube and punt across the top of the drink.
No. You get one of those Tango Ice Blasts, with the big long straw, and then you sort of suck on it like a hamster in a cage.
Thank you. A single drop forms at the end of the straw, and that'll nourish me for a week.
If you suck too hard, it'll all come out in one big globule, and you'll be trapped inside like like a bug.
Right, there we go. What's the readership going to do with that soundbite, Simon? You know exactly what they're going to do with that, so well done.
Oh, yeah. You can send a physical copy of it to our post box.
Now, Fergus, I know that's probably very tempting to do something silly with there, but let's see if you can exercise a degree of restraint. I don't for a second believe that you will, but, let's see.
I believe in you, Fergus. If you suck too hard, it'll all come out in one big globule. If you suck too hard, it'll all come out in one big globule. If you suck too hard, it'll all come out in one big globule. 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 If you suck too hard, it'll 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 globule. It'll come out in one big. It'll come out in one globule. It'll come out in one big. It'll come out in one. If you suck too hard, it'll globule. So the 4th one was is what you were saying.
Yeah, it was dreadful. It was so bad. Really, really bad. Everything about it I hated. I wasn't surprised. I knew that this would be the case, but I had to watch the 4th one because I have to complete it,
Yeah.
And I will probably at some point go and see the 5th one, and that's going to be dreadful as well.
Not got high hopes, I must say.
No. But what are you going to do?
My mum has said she wants to go see it, and I haven't been to the cinema with my mum for a long time. I thought it'd be a nice thing to do together,
Yeah, absolutely.
but I am not looking forward to the film. I've actually been enjoying some media recently, which isn't something that we often talk about on this show, I suppose. Like, often we're being very critical. I have been really enjoying... I've had a bit of a slump with reading recently. Like, I have it on my to-do list every single day, read a page of a book. And up until quite recently, I've actually been reading some quite dry non-fiction just for other projects. And so I thought I'd treat myself to a piece of fiction just to get myself back into the habit of enjoying reading.
Yeah.
And so I've been reading a Warhammer book. I've been reading a book from the Black Library, which I know isn't high literature, but I can tear through about 50 pages a day of.
It's not high literature, but it's high fantasy, so it's that's fine. It's
Yeah,
good.
well, actually, it's funny you say that because the book I've been reading has been The First Heretic by Aaron Dembski-Bowden, which, for those of you who are vaguely familiar with Warhammer, might recognise. It's the book that basically, I don't know if it's the first chronologically, but it's certainly one of the first chronologically from the Horus Heresy. So, like, it's a book that describes the thing that kicks off basically the entire plot line of Warhammer 40,000. So it's actually been quite cool and like nerding out and seeing all the little details of how it happens.
So would this be a good thing, a good introduction to Warhammer literature then? Would that be a book that you would say is the one to go for? Because I can see myself getting into it in a big way, but I need a recommendation as to where to start.
It's better written than most of the books. I will say Aaron Dembski-Bowden's it's actually a very good author.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I'd say it was a good one to start with because it's one of these books that makes references to stuff that's happened in like the previous 10 books. And you're like, oh, now it makes sense. Like the order is it's not super important, but I probably wouldn't read this one first.
Sure.
Like if you want, the recommendation I always give if you want to read a Warhammer book is Brothers of the Snake by Dan Abnett. That's like a collection of short stories that have a cohesive plot across all of them,
right?
So it allows you to dip in, basically. But that's not set in the Horus Heresy. It's set in the actual main setting.
Yeah.
Very, very nerdy chat. Sorry, everyone at home. But my point being, I've really enjoyed just reading something pulpy, and I think there's this idea that when you're an adult, you have to read great literature with a capital G. You know. And this has been like almost like, oh, it's a guilty pleasure. I'm reading a nerd book, and it's like about a franchise. And the fact is, I'm reading a book, I'm having a good time, I'm enjoying the story, and I'm forming a story in my mind. And I think it is actually prompting me to want to write, not necessarily fiction, but just, for my videos and stuff. Like, it's actually making me excited to write and do interesting things with words.
Good.
In a way that, it's like a starter motor. Sure, this isn't nutritious food. This is like, it's like a little bit of junk food as a treat, and it's getting me back into the swing of things. And after this, there's a book on, I think it's called Life and Death on St Kilda by Tom Steele, which is about the evacuation of a Scottish island. It's a real, really true story, but apparently it's very, very well written. And then I've got any number of books that I should be reading after that.
Yes.
But I just need a little leg up. Like, are you reading anything at the moment?
I have been doing some reading. It's from a textbook, though, and it's all about over-the-counter derivatives, law and fintech post-financial crash stuff. So, like, it's work reading, basically, just as background stuff, so I can be better at my job.
Right.
But it's good, actually. It is very interesting. And I was reading. What was I reading? Oh, I was reading another Kazuo Ishiguro. It was his first one. I've been lent the book. I got about a chapter in, and then haven't picked it up since because I've been busy, but that's great. I mean, I love his work. Extraordinary.
Yeah, I still haven't read any of his stuff, but one day I will get around to it.
If you're going to start with anything, can I recommend that you start with The Buried Giant?
Okay, The Buried Giant. I will add that to the list.
I think that's the one to start with, and then probably go Never Let Me Go, Clara and the Sun, Remains of the Day. Yeah, there's plenty to choose from. Yeah, I think for you, the best start would be The Buried Giant.
The other thing which I wanted to mention as something I've been really enjoying recently on a number of levels is a YouTube channel. It's A. Collier Astro, Dr. Angela Collier, who has exploded out of kind of nowhere. Like, her first video, I think, is only 5 months old. Like, she's just... Oh, no. She does go back further. But, like, she's one of these channels that had, like, quite a big hit. And actually, it's had quite a few, like, step-ups. Like, this video has clearly got more than its previous videos and this kind of stuff. But basically, she did a PhD in dark matter and then has done a bunch of science communication afterwards. And I think she works in a lab, like in industry now full time. But she does these really interesting videos that are unlike kind of other SciComm I've really seen before. Some of them are basically her talking to camera, and it's really low production value in the sense of it is just like one angle, very minimal graphics and stuff like that. But the one that really exploded and got me really excited about her stuff was the video is called String Theory Lied to Us and Now Science Communication is Hard. And in it, she is playing a game, The Binding of Isaac, very famous, well-known game.
Oh yeah, love that.
And basically just talking about this topic of the history of string theory and how it's affected science communication and like the impacts that it was still seeing of it today. And it's like 50 minutes long of her playing a game and then looking at the camera from time to time, and occasionally a graphic will come up. And it's such a unique way to do SciComm. It's kind of what I've tried to do a little bit on Twitch.
Yes.
But she had clearly written like a script, or like at least a bullet point script that she was referring to as in like one continuous take, basically.
Yeah.
And it was just really refreshing. And she's really good. Like she's really, really good at explaining this stuff in a conversational way. So I really liked it, and I thought people who read the podcast might like it too. So I will leave a link to that in the show notes as well. But yeah, highly worth. I mean, some of the other videos she did a video on like why alien life isn't going to be silicon based. It's probably going to be carbon based. This idea that dark matter isn't a theory; it's a set of observations. Something about what the most important material in science is. A theory on crackpots in science. So like quite varied stuff, all within the same domain. But
Amazing.
Really liked her stuff. I might have to try and collaborate with her on something, I think.
Maybe she wants to come on the podcast.
We haven't had a guest for a while, to be fair.
We haven't had a guest for a good long while. So
turns out not much can live up to the Swedish Wikicast.
Of course. But, I mean, that's the stuff of legend.
Did we just start again? Did we really lower the bar and have, like, Hugo on?
The number of times he has said to me, why won't you let me on the podcast?
Because of that phrase, why won't you let me on the podcast?
Yes,
Why can I not be unleashed upon the podcast?
Perhaps in the near future we'll get him on for a sort of, I don't know, episode 125 or something. Quarter of a way to 200.
The thing is, I can tell readers in advance what that episode is going to sound like. That episode is going to sound. Hey guys, so I was just coming on the podcast, yeah, and I've got a very loud voice. I don't know if you can tell this, but they actually haven't invented a microphone loud enough for me yet.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what it's going to be like.
It's. I apologise to readers at home and to Fergus who had to listen to that raw.
However, I would say that I think Hugo would excel brilliantly in Critics' Corner.
Oh, he would as well.
We would have some really, really interesting chats. Hugo is a film buff like ourselves, right? But he has some really
certified
very, very interesting takes and an extremely sort of strong musical sort of musical movical catalogue in his head.
Something jellicle cats.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe in the future we'll have to consult the fates on that one.
Yes, we'll see.
Top lad. We find ourselves in Patreon corner. Patreon.com/The Wikicast is the way that if you enjoy the show, if you're enjoying it so far and you would like to keep us going, then you can pledge your support at in one of four ways technically, but we're one of two camps. What are the camps that people can stick their colours to, Dan?
Well, you can either stick your colours to Team Cat or Team Dog. Now, I don't need to say which one is the right choice.
Obviously.
But those options are available to you. And within those two options, you have multiple tiers of sort of allegiance.
When you say multiple, you mean two?
Yes. You have binary choices. We've got either Top Dog or Team Dog, and it's $1 or $5 a month. $5 a month. Aside from being granted Top Lad status, your name will also be read out on the podcast like what I am about to do in it. So without further ado, I'd love to say an enormous thank you to those who support at Top Dog, the real reader's choice tier. So I'd like to say an enormous thank you to Jay Wright, Ben McMurtry, Peter Reed, Codzo, Colin J. Brown, Lexi at Front Desk, Hasse Hansen, Henry VII, King of England and of France, Lord of Ireland, Aaron Jorgensen, Naf Laroque, Andrian with an N, Chan, Ben Caples, Martin Narciso, Christian from the Alps, Lexi at Front Desk's boss, Amy Bonney, Sophie, Brummy Mike, Carnav, Dan Nelson. Thank you so much.
Whereas I would like to thank the people of the true reader's choice, those who are supporting at top cat level, including Lord Lewis Bassingdale of Anitsford and its surrounding provinces, Isabella, Lexi at Front Desk's arch enemy, James S, Anna Reifer, Nathan Flaherty, The Kyrene on Caffeine, Simon P, Jack Easton, Izzy CC, Nuffy Iftikhar, Christopher Betterton, Dame Valerie III, Layla Medina, Will Janice Humphreys, Rents Kirk, Oliver Burkhart, Cole Mansfield, and the one and only Dan Hanvey. Thank you very much to each and every one of you. It's all your fault.
It's all your fault.
Top lad.
Hang on, let me just leap into correspondence. Very good. Great minds.
And it's a high score from the Ukrainian judge.
And it's a 10 from
more
Len.
flops.
Why Len's here? We have no idea.
Keep jumping.
Very good. Very fine. Oh, it's
What was it? That was that was a Hat Films bit quite recently. It was like, can you try and sing the Antiques Roadshow song, like the theme song, but only using noises as if you were having a
oh yeah.
It was like
It's the last bit that's the best.
yeah. Also because it's like a come down.
Extraordinary.
Well, that waveform's a mess.
Gosh. And we have a letter here from James S. It's titled Video and TV. James writes, "Hello, dear fellows. Rather than give Fergus the job of digging out a 30s era soundtrack, I've made the much less taxing decision just to write normally instead. As an aside, Fergus..."
It's James S.C. sending us correspondence from the Reed Streets of Chicago.
And as an aside, Fergus, thank you for all the work you put into this podcast. Back to the top of your hand. Let's just take a moment and give Fergus a good tennis clap there.
And we didn't even have a piss mention last episode. I don't know if you noticed, by the way.
My first point was to heartily recommend the YouTube video simply called Lackadaisy Pilot. See trailer here, and there is a link. We shall watch that, James. To give the readership context, it's much more than a YouTube video. It's an animated short film set in the Prohibition-era US. What's the twist in the tale, I hear you ask? Cats. Specifically, all the characters are cats. A bit comparable to Art Spiegelman's Mouse, but both the goodies and the baddies are felines this time. And the pictures move. It's a delightfully crafted, joke-filled joyride, and I can highly recommend it. That sounds brilliant. I have to watch that.
I'm watching it right now, and it is beautiful.
Oh, really? Oh, gosh. I'm going to have to send this to my partner. She's cat mad. Next, I wanted to delve into the creative decision taken by the writer of the TV drama The Investigation. This show originally aired on HBO and was written by Tobias Lindholm. It was an iPlayer for a time after that, so I saw it there and enjoyed what I saw. The series came out in 2021, so it's readily available to purchase or rent if any reader's interest is piqued. It centres around the 2017 Danish submarine case, the initial disappearance of the journalist Kim Wall, and the subsequent murder inquiry. The main difference with The Investigation to crime dramas in the UK is its refusal to focus at all on the killer. Of course, the show has to examine why the man did what he did, but in no way does it show it from his point of view. Instead, it revolves around the police and their investigation, the divers and their searching, and Kim Wall's parents waiting all the time for answers. Hey, that sounds good.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting.
I have to give that a look. Shows in the UK such as White House Farm or Des arguably make the story as much about the killer as the victim. Yeah, I really agree. And the sort of the glorification in that is something that I never sits sort of quite right with me.
The Jeffrey Dahmer show on Netflix did this as well. Like
exactly.
It turned him into kind of an icon.
Or what was it? Was it The Night Stalker? That was another one.
And I'm thinking of The Night Manager with Loki.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know which
Fair
one
enough.
that one is.
Sure, there's a place for these shows. They prove popular for a reason. I suppose audiences enjoy seeing somebody squirm or wait with bated breath to see whether the suspect can weasel themselves out of it. But The Investigation demonstrates you can have as good a drama without having to give the killers any screen time. There are no interrogations in the show at all. The killer isn't named, nor is an actor cast to play them. I wonder what your feelings might be on the matter, on the media shifting these narratives towards the victims rather than the perpetrators. I think that's a really interesting take, and I think it sounds far more like a take that I can sort of more comfortably get on board with, as much as one can get on board about a victim focus.
I was going to say, because it's not without its problems, because at the end, then you are making the victims a commodity that you are making a TV show about. And like, that's the nature of these shows, right? Like that every murder mystery or every true crime or whatever it is has that to an extent. But like, I think it does lay bare the problems of the genre in a way.
Yeah.
But I think it's probably the lesser of two evils, I suppose.
It certainly piqued my interest. So I want to give this a look. James writes, finally, I recently finished watching the new BBC series Steeltown Murders with Philip Glenister. The story is about a case in 1973 that was reopened in 2002 as DNA evidence and techniques are used to try and bring closure to the victims' families. There are interrogations, yes, but I would say a good portion is again dedicated to the victims and the surrounding people affected, rather than focusing on the killer. The way the story shifts from 73 to 02 and back was really well done, and the two separate casts do a great job. A bit of a slow burn, perhaps, but nonetheless enjoyable.
Blimey.
Summer's around the corner, gents, so have a wonderful time of it. Kind regards, James S. 4.2 Prince Louis.
I forgot that we had Prince Louis as our unit of time.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. I mean, loads of recommendations there from James. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been so long since I've had the time to actually get into a series properly. Like, I know Pixel Wife just finished watching and loved. Is it something about Rosie or something like that?
Oh yeah, I think I've heard about
I think
this.
that David Tennant was in.
Yes.
Recently. Oh, that's not the name of it. That's going to bug me. And it looked really good. The bit that I watched.
Does he play a priest?
There She Goes. That's what it's called. It's based on... Oh, that's interesting. It's a British comedy drama created and written by Sean Pye, based on his own experiences with his daughter, who was born with a chromosomal disorder. The show follows the life of learning disabled Rosie Yates, along with her parents and her older brother. Interesting. Yeah, so I didn't know that was the sort of the backstory. Yeah, so Pixel Wife, like, for example, really got into this and loved it, whereas I haven't had time, man. I have not had time for something like this. Yeah. I find it, honestly, like, I find that I feel like I have to keep on top of relevant YouTube videos for my job. Like, watch what people who are in the sphere are creating. Yeah. And as a result, yeah, you do get sucked down these side tangents. And yes, so I watch Hat Films, or I'd watch Bricky or Yogscast or whoever. And I feel like it's full time just trying to stay on top of that. Like, I don't feel like I have time for TV.
No, I agree. I don't think I tend to. I mean, certainly terrestrial television I very rarely consume now.
Yeah. It's a shame because it's a totally different world, and like, I mean, the one exception to that is watching Star Trek. That's the one thing that you know I've been doing and I've really really enjoyed doing, and that's been like my gym thing.
I finished watching Barry, by the way.
Oh, Hugo's recommendation. What did you think?
Oh, extraordinary, absolutely brilliant. Yeah, Bill Hader is a genius and just extraordinary. Really, really good. I highly recommend it to anyone. It's wonderful.
I'll have to check it out. I mean, hopefully at some point soon I'll actually have time to enjoy TV. But yes, I will make a note to actually watch that one.
So, Simon, what have we learned today?
Today, Dan, we learned about a few of the people who have been ambassadors of Sweden to Ukraine. Believe it or not, that was over an hour ago. We have had a pretty rambling conversation since then. We have,
but it's been a good conversation.
I've enjoyed it.
Thanks for having me. I've had a really nice time.
Anytime, Dan. I'd love to have you back on the show.
It'd be great. Yeah, I'd love to come back.
Next time? Next episode?
Hey, yeah, same time next week?
Brilliant. Okay, we won't be next week. Let's be real.
Same time next month?
Yeah, same time in like 2 months. That'll be fine. Yeah. Anyway, hopefully it'll be in 2 weeks.
We spoke about ambassadors. We spoke about... God, what else did we talk about?
I went to Strasbourg. I went for a cycle. I got very hot.
Oh, yeah. Gosh, the heat. We spoke about the heat. I spoke about a youth band, some modern contemporary music that regular people listen to, which was extraordinary. We also spoke about the alumni choir coming back. Very exciting.
And the Wickman concert.
The Wickman concert.
You should definitely listen to. Link in the show notes. And we had a bit of a rambling chat about media, I suppose. Like
yeah.
Well, and jus de bain, my new favourite drink.
Yes. And that's all for this episode. Don't forget to subscribe to us on your podcasting service of choice, join the Discord, and if you'd like to see our faces, check out our Instagram.
Techniques for beating the heat, your kitchen mishaps, and other thoughts on the show can be sent to us at spongyelectric@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you.
Join us again for another tumble down the wiki rabbit hole, and we'll see you next time.
Globule.